Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Dark Elves and Warriors of Chaos. It's going to be myself with MORATHI facing off against Subutai, who's going to be coming in with the Nurgle Demon Prince. Pretty cool, getting those sweet heals as well as Spirit Leeches, not bad at all. Now, both of these are pretty off-meta lords for sure. I honestly don't think in the past 5 or 6 months I've seen MORATHI in a tournament picked once as the Dark Elves. It's pretty much always been Malekith just because of the presence of the dragon and the breath attacks. And also, the new lord that you're seeing with the Dark Elves, ever since Malekith got a bit of a cost increase, has been the Sorcerer, the Supreme Sorceress on the Black Dragon. It's basically Malekith, but just a little bit cheaper. But nonetheless, I still do think MORATHI really isn't bad. She has some huge AoE debuffs. So if we take a look at MORATHI, she does have the Heartrender and the Dark Sword, which is -5 and -5. Enchanting Beauty is going to be -5 as well. So if she's just fighting near a blob, it's going to be -10 leadership, not leadership, but melee attack to that entire blob, which is pretty crazy good. She also has Soul Stealer and is an anti-large duelist herself. So I do think MORATHI has some good tools for sure in a couple matchups. Blackheart Corsairs in the front, just a great unit. These guys with the little handbows put consistent DPS out if you need them to fight on objectives. They're still an 80 armored, pretty good combat stat unit in melee, so I just really like the Corsair handbows. And yes, Warriors of Chaos are a fairly armored roster, and they do lack armor piercing, but there's often going to be Marauder Horsemen, different lords you can target, and yeah, I just think they provide great utility. Bleak Swords are a pretty solid unit as well. Their stat line ain't bad. 36 melee attack, 32 melee defense, and 32 weapon strength. So if you put them up against chaff units and other factions, for example, if Bleak Swords go up against basic Chaos Marauders, I find they do well. Of course, they're going to get smashed by any upper mid-tier infantry like Chaos Warriors, but for their price point, I think they do pretty well. Scourge Runner is a great choice as well. You can use them to run over infantry or snipe enemy lords, big targets. I was expecting Armored Chaos Trolls. They're very meta and very solid, so I was thinking that having the Scourge Runners to poke them and also run over infantry would be good. And that's pretty much it for the army. In reserves, I have some elite units. So in the reserves, I don't think I could show you now, but I have Black Guard. I think Black Guard are actually really underrated here, and a bunch of repeater crossbows, which are just insanely good. For Subutai's army, coming in with the Nurgle Demon Prince, which is a neat pick for sure. This bad boy is an armor-piercing fighter. Dark Elves do have quite a bit of armor, and he does also have Spirit Leech and Stream of Corruption and Fleshy Abundance. So yeah, a lot of different utility spells. Fleshy, of course, is pretty nice on the Chaos roster. You can use it on your Severed Claw. You can use it on himself. If you have a unit of Chaos Knights, for example, you can drop it on them, and it's very cost-effective. And Spirit Leech is pretty good. Dark Elves don't really have healing on the roster outside of Soul Stealer, so if you want to Spirit Leech or unit down other targets, I found it to be very cost-effective. So the battle's on, both sides moving up. His army is just all Chaos Warriors with Severed Claw. It's very standard in Domination mode to open up with an infantry-based army, and then after that you call in your specialists, your range units, your cavalry, your monsters. That's usually what you see. Sometimes you'll see people do things a little bit differently, but that is more or less the meta right now. So Scourge Runner is moving up, just taking some pot shots at Severed Claw. I obviously wanted to shoot at the Nurgle Demon Prince, but Subutai is going to be pulling back with that bad boy, and I'm like, hey, why the hell not? Let's take some free real estate. MORATHI going to be flying overhead just to support and attack if need be, and now these Marauders going to be getting run over by the chariots of the Dark Elves. So they get in there, nice damage right there. And they're going to keep moving. You can see that's some solid damage. I mean, that's very good. And they can just kind of keep moving between these different Marauder units. And until he calls out something with mass, whether it be an Armored Chaos Troll, a Chaos Knight, Marauder Horseman, whatever, these guys are just going to be bullies. And you see the first response coming out. It is going to be Armored Chaos Trolls. These guys are pretty solid and but a little bit vulnerable to the Scourge Hunters as well. With their anti-large attacks, MORATHI herself is anti-large. And I figured, I saw his big infantry corps over here towards Objective 2. My idea was that I would get my army and press Objective 1, maybe if I could prevent him from capping it initially and just get some value in the process and kind of cut off his army a little bit and separate them. A little skirmishing action going down. MORATHI going to be taking a Duel of Fates, and Spirit Leech does get used here by Subutai. And MORATHI's a good duelist, but the Nurgle Demon Prince is going to be a slightly stronger duelist. Much bigger HP pool, but MORATHI, the Dark Elves don't fight completely fair here. They're Blackheart Corsair handbow shooting up into the sky, doing a little bit of damage, and now the repeater crossbows are in. So repeater crossbows are just so insanely good. Just the utility on a big battlefield of being able to be anywhere, hitting extremely hard. Armor piercing pretty much just means you can handle whatever threat's coming your way, and I just think they're one of the best units in the Dark Elf roster. They might straight up just be the best. Shades are okay in this matchup, but I find that Shades do get chased down by a lot of the Warriors of Chaos mobility if they have Hounds and Horsemen and things like that, whereas these guys can maneuver a little bit better. So frontline fighting is going to be underway here in a second. The repeater crossbow is going to be pulling back, and they do some fat, thick damage to that Demon Prince. And MORATHI's going to be using a Soul Stealer here. So she jumps in to fight with her Dark Elf buddies here on the ground, and is going to be debuffing the melee attack and melee defense of both the units nearby. The Armored Chaos Trolls getting pounded pretty hard. The Soul Stealer certainly hitting pretty effectively, and the repeater crossbow cavalry put some good DPS on those as well. Subutai going to be maneuvering over to the other side. Demon Prince coming in, and I did get my elite troopers up, so the Black Guard have arrived, but I decided I was going to hide the Black Guard in the trees until I kind of got an idea for what the Demon Prince was going to be doing. I didn't want them to just kind of get caught here in some streams of corruption, blob spell, so I was trying to keep them mobile while moving over a little bit of support. So the Dark Rider Repeater Crossbows coming, and I was kind of hoping that they would be able to help deal with the Demon Prince as well as the Severed Claw. Frontline fighting here is going very well. Bleak Sword's barely taking any damage. Morathi putting the melee attack of these Marauders down to 24 from 34, which is pretty fat. Scourge on her Chariot still helping run some of these units over. And also we do have the constant pressure coming in from the Black Ark Corsairs. So they're just kind of sitting behind the two units here and putting a little bit of ranged DACA down. Ammunition's pretty good. And honestly, was pretty happy with her performance so far. Repeater crossbow shooting up and over kind of a rock and tree here. So some of the shots are being caught, but nonetheless, I don't even know what they're shooting. I think it must have been the Demon Prince right there. Nice stream of corruption going down from Subutai. Does hit me pretty square in the face. But I'm telling you, Black Guard are a great unit. They just have solid stats. And yes, they are anti-large, but I found that they just, like, in most situations, I find that the Black Guard are just straight up better than the Harganeth Executioners. Just the durability and the higher melee defense they have, and their, like, offensive output, even against, like, infantry-based targets, isn't terrible either. 36 melee attack is good, 44 weapon strength is really solid, and of course they have that huge bonus versus large. Like, this one Black Guard unit would probably be able to fight off the Chaos Warriors and Severed Claw. Granted, Severed Claw would probably be able to finish them off, but it would be a good fight. It would be cost-effective for you. So Demon Prince getting Fleshy Abundance. Morathi coming in for round 2. So she's looking to hunt down the Demon Prince, who's on the run a little bit right now. Is trying to do some hits and runs. I wanted to go in and fight with Morathi before I use Soul Stealers to really get the most bang for my buck here. Looking at the value on the battlefield, it's pretty good. We're up by quite a bit, and of course, both sides have access to healing, though, with Soul Stealers on Morathi, but he has access to a little bit more traditional healing. Blackguard trying to fight off those Chaos Warriors, and these old Repeater Crossbows are being screened out by the Mirror Guard, but what I'm going to do is park one right here to shoot into the back of these units, and the other one's going to be pulling back and away to try and get a better angle there. Scourge Runner Chariot's on the run. Morathi still doing some work, but overall that Demon Prince of Nurgle showing that he is a true champion of Nurgle with his tankiness. So Morathi not able to get too much damage in there despite the anti-large bonus. In the middle, the Repeater Crossbows unfortunately being screened by Silver Shields feels pretty bad. But over time, they will be able to potentially drag them down. Blackheart Corsairs coming in. Blackheart Corsairs are an excellent infantry unit. They're really especially good against lightly armored troopers. But in this case, we're just going to have to do what we can. And we do have the Velociraptor Cav. So we have some Cold One Knights, which aren't amazing against infantry. But with the Murderer's Prowess active, our entire army is just getting sauced on violence right now. So they have 20% armor pierce, 25% more melee attack, more armor piercing range damage on the Repeater Crossbows here, or the Corsair Handbows. So overall, it's pretty good, and we get more of the bows coming in. So this is where we party, and it lasts a long time. It lasts a minute and a half. So when Dark Elves get that, you start to really see the shift in momentum here. Morathi getting a big Soul Stealer. The Black Guard suddenly, look at their stats, 46 and 49, and all the Chaos units here are debuffed by Morathi, who's lowering their melee attack by 10, which is nuts. And yeah, overall, the grind of the Dark Elves is going pretty well, and the Warriors of Chaos are going to be forced back, and so too will the Trolls, not wanting to fight in halberd units. But I do make a bit of a mistake. I overextend a little bit with Morathi, but the Trolls with 24 melee attack won't be terribly imposing. Demon Prince of Nurgle chilling in the shadows, but the Repeater Crossbows doing great work, just kind of parked on the periphery of the engagement. Granted, some routing shattered Chaos Warriors actually like partially interrupted my attacks, which was pretty troll. Helabroni on the way in, Scourge Runners, and just putting a lot of weight here on these Black Guard, which have gotten how much value so far? About 800, not bad at all. Over here on the flank, Subutai running in with the Demon Prince, going to be shutting down my Repeater Crossbows, keeping them from shooting happily. And back towards Objective 1, we finally do push them back here, so the Forces of Chaos were routed by the Blackheart Corsairs under the pressure of the Murderer's Prowess, and a Manticore was called in as well. Manticores are really good. I think if you're playing Dark Elves or any faction that does have a Manticore, you should always just bring one. Having a cheap 800 gold mobile, hard-hitting, terror-causing unit, which yes, might not be the tankiest, but if you saturate it with other units, just giving terror to your army is great. Like a lot of people in this type of situation would be calling in cheap infantry to try and give cap weight, but the Manticore is basically just going to be hard countering that, right? It's going to come in, get a couple attacks on these Marauders, and they're just going to fold like a piece of paper. Terror Route's going to be going down very soon. So we got the Corsairs moving in, and Old Manticore getting those sweet tail whips. A Terror Route coming down in a couple seconds, probably 3, 2, 1. And was I close? Not close this time. I'm usually pretty lucky with guessing that, but yeah, I was pretty off that time. Okay, there's the Terror Route eventually. So it does flip the objective, and now we got the 2 cap. So in this situation, we would win with 2 points pretty safely. Knights of the Brazen Throne being called out, which is super cool. Both of us kind of experimenting with some off-meta here. So Knights of the Brazen Throne are an anti-infantry armor-piercing unit, and this is what I'm talking about. Having like a big, hard-hitting cav unit that has like access to healing, which normally wouldn't. Pretty radical. And they get in there and they just punish, absolutely punish those Blackheart Corsairs, man. But the entire time they're doing that, they're being focused down by the Dark Riders with the repeater crossbows and slowly wearing them down, doing my best. This objective looking okay for us. We have the remnants of the Blackguard, 14 of these models fighting to the bitter end. Currently 1,500 value, so they've more than paid for themselves. Very, very good stuff. We're able to grind down the Mirror Guard, put some hurt on the old Severed Claw, which is one of the tankiest, hardest to kill units in the game. Took down Trolls, multiple units of Chaos Warriors. He's very happy with that. So MORATHI going to be blasting another Soul Stealer, which hopefully will hit that Demon Prince, and it looks like the Demon Prince is going to get hit by the Soul Stealer, and that will do some respectable damage. Corsair Handbows moving in, and like I said in the beginning of the game, they have good enough combat stats to get in and be like objective capture weight units. Things are going pretty good. So in the back objective, the Bleak Swords, Manticores, and Blackheart Corsairs fighting wave after wave of Chaos reinforcements. Unfortunately for me, the Swords of Chaos do get called in, and the Swords of Chaos are a big armor-piercing unit, so they're going to be able to just absolutely melt my dudes. And now they're going to be in Swords Raised for the Dark Gods, and they get in there, and those Dark Elf units do start to get punished pretty hard. So this is going to be this objective flipping, but it has been quite nice. And during all this, the back objective has been secured. We pulled some repeater crossbows to chase down these routing trolls, to shadow them and make sure they don't come back. And I was hoping I would be able to get this objective here. Cold Blue Knights called in. It's really, Dark Elves I find perform pretty well against heavy cavalry factions, like factions that like to use big cav, just because of how damn cost-effective Cold Blue Knights are. Just that anti-large and the armor and their staying power in combat. Ever since the, Murderous Prowess plus the Primal Instinct. Primal Instinct used to be like a downside, but they got changed a while back to where it became they just get physical resistance and melee attack. So yeah, just a really, really good grindy unit. But this objective is going to flip for us for sure. MORATHI punishing the stats of all these different units here. Repeater crossbows putting some hurt from downtown. And over on the top side, we do see objective 1 has flipped for us, but Swords of Chaos will probably be able to get it back here. Manticore is doing some good work, but the Swords of Chaos are pretty damn elite, and they're going to be getting some infantry support in there as well. So looking at the value, we have about 13 to 9, so we're up by 4. Both of us have healing, but we've had many fleshy abundances coming out from Subutai, which I would wager have kind of closed the value gap a little bit. But despite, I don't think we have a 4,000 gold value gap, but I would easily say 2,800 to 3,000. So the value gap is certainly real. MORATHI and company pretty much butchered this entire objective. We got a triple cap here, and I can keep pressing the back objective if you want to, but it's going to be really, really tough for Chaos to come back here. They basically just have Swords of Chaos and Marauders. The Nurgle Demon Prince, he's trying his best. He's up to about 1,400 value, but he hasn't been able to land safely because of the pressure of the repeater crossbows, right? That's always kind of what I find when I play like Empire against Dark Elves too. Like Boris Todbringer is pretty sweet because he heals himself and it can afford to get caught in some bad situations, but any faction where you have like a big combat character, it's tough. Dark Elves are really good at punishing those like SEs with their mobile armor-piercing firepower. But yeah, we try Swords of Chaos chasing down the remnants of the repeater crossbows. More infantry coming out, so it's going to be Chaos Warriors and Marauders with great weapons. Here we still have the Severed Claw fighting. It's just an absolutely insane unit. Severed Claw probably at like 2,000 plus value right now. I mean, they've been fighting a fair amount of good quality units too, including Blackguard. Come on, give it to us, Precious. We'll check after the game, but I would wager their value is easily up over 2,000. Cold Blue Knights trying to finish them off, 1,700 HP. I figured I could maybe just like attrition those guys down. Going to be sending in the Corsair Handbows to help. This objective for sure is going to be going into the Shadow Realm. I'm going to be losing this one. Swords of Chaos move again. I tried to go for a snipe on the Nurgle Prince, but I didn't learn my lesson before. MORATHI does get hit with a Spirit Leech. Nurgle Prince is able to kind of maintain. I believe he does have an ability called Restore the Blighted or something, where he has like a rebirth effect. I don't know if Subutai brought it, but the Nurgle Demon Prince, at least on Demons of Chaos, does have like a too horrible to die type effect where he can heal. And we see him reach his healing cap here. I don't see it down here, Sam. I don't think he did. But yep, this objective is going to be flipping. Back objective we reinforce. I figured there would be a counter push coming in, so I just call in Blackguard. Blackguard going to be anchoring down that objective here. And Bleak Sword's going to be coming out from all directions to reinforce this point. Seeing a bunch of Marauders, I figured I needed to. But overall, the Severed Claw finally gets broken. Chaos Armored Trolls taken down as well. And the Corsair Handbows will do a good job fighting these guys. I mean, the problem is his units are active here and fresh, and my guys are pretty tired, but surprisingly not exhausted, which is pretty cool. So what we're going to be doing is parking MORATHI over the infantry blob. So you can see as soon as she gets close, the Enchanting Beauty, the Norskin's looking up from the ground in awe at MORATHI flying in the skies, and Heartrender and the Dark Sword is active as well. So currently -10 leadership on all these bad boys. Not leadership, but melee attack. Leadership would be really crazy strong, holy shit. Nurgle Prince in a little bit of danger though. Repeater Crossbow is able to put some hurt down, 1,300 value so far, but this man is probably just going to pull back and do the dreaded Unsummon right now. Looks like Warriors of Chaos trying to get a bit of a momentum shift, maybe heading here, but nope, looks like they're heading over towards Objective 2 to try and contest that. But we're rapidly closing in to the point where we could win on 1, and with the prevalence of the Bleak Swords here, Cold Blue Knights coming in and cleaning up these Trolls back here, the Velociraptor Cavalry, we should be okay. Swords of Chaos will do a little bit of damage, but you're seeing a lot of red here, ladies and gentlemen. MORATHI still with the fat erect debuffs. And overall, I just don't think there's too many chances. Cold One Knight's going to be coming in, running down the Swords of Chaos here. MORATHI debuffing the Blob. And honestly, Dark Elf like chaff units are pretty damn cost effective. They will beat up the Marauders. Swords of Chaos get hunted, and we start to push this objective as well. I figured, I was so ahead on value that I wanted to take advantage of that. So Dark Riders moving up, Blackguard moving up, Bleak Swords moving up as well. Repeater Crossbows putting some hurt down onto the Chaos Warriors, and even though they are silver shielded, even if 45% of that damage gets through, it's still a respectable amount of damage. And something you could do is you could run past them, and if they're targeting you, you can see the Chaos Warriors have their backs facing the wrong way, or their shields. So now they're going to be getting shot in the back, and they will not get any sort of a block chance. That was kind of the idea there. But overall, not much my opponent's going to be able to do. MORATHI on death's bed, but she's hanging in there. She's a trooper. She can certainly take one for the team. So Cold One Knights get rear charges, Repeater Crossbow shooting these guys literally point blank, and that's going to be game blouses as the Manticore comes back in, gets chain terror routes, and there's just no way. With the Blackguard arriving, as well as the Bleak Swords, should be able to clean things up with the big scary Manticore. So yeah, man, I honestly have to say, I've been having a great time playing Dark Elves lately. I played a game against Hadri's, it must have been like a week or two ago, and Hadri's historically, I don't know if you guys know his history, you obviously have seen him play this in tournaments and do well, but back in Warhammer 2, he was one of the best Dark Elf players for a long time, and he played them against me on, I think I was playing Khorne, and like, something just, like, I don't know, the playstyle just seemed kind of fun, like that hard-hitting, just like Repeater Crossbows. The one thing that's kind of annoying about them is like how Soul Stealer is just so good, it just like doesn't seem like it makes sense to do much else with your magic, but I guess against Skaven, you would probably go Lure Fire if you're Dark Elves, so you would just want to bring Burning Heads to clear out the Clan Rats and stuff, but yeah, overall, a really fun faction. I really like the Repeater Crossbow, like Handbow guys. MORATHI with 3,000 value. Who needs Malekith, right? The mom can get the job done too, all right? She's trying. And the Scourge on her Chariot's not bad. They paid for themselves just about. Elite units, 69, the blessed number of Slaanesh. Truly a MORATHI game. But yeah, Blackguard were great too, man. This meta is so much more fun. Like, elite units are awesome. I mean, yes, if you throw them into bad situations, it feels bad. You lose a lot. But if you're more cautious with them and use them as like a kind of a more tactical piece, more of a scalpel of sorts, it's pretty damn fun. Repeater Crossbows paying for themselves. Nurgle Prince tried. He was certainly struggling a little bit. I was talking to Supertai. He wanted to go with Festus, but he was worried about Festus dying to Malekith, which is a very, very serious thing. Like, Malekith or any sort of a dragon character will bully the hell out of Festus, so he went with something big, but then I didn't bring Malekith, so we both kind of went off meta, which was fun. 3,000 on Severed Claw, man. Absolutely insane unit. They obviously got some good... They fought multiple cav units. They fought Blackguard. They had plenty of things to grind down, but those units are insane. I think some of the things that did cost them the game at the end of the day were the elite cavalry units. Dark Elves are probably not a faction you want to bring elite cav against. They just have too many good answers. Repeater Crossbows, cost-effective spears, Cold One Knights. It's the same thing. Like, you don't want to bring elite cav against Lizardmen either, because the Cold One Spear Riders and the Cold One Knights just wreck the elite cav. So 976, 771. So I think that was really what did it. I think if these call-ins had been something else, it could have been a much closer game for sure. But yeah, again, we were just experimenting, trying out some off-meta stuff, seeing what works, and yeah, it was a good time. So GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We'll be back with more smoking hot replay soon, and that is going to be it for tonight. Cheers.